Welcome back, listeners, to the Silver Bullet Saga. I'm your host, Ryan Vonderhaar. Pleasure to be back here with you today. As always, this time, for the first time in more than a year, following a loss to our Ohio State Buckeyes, this time in the Big Ten Championship against those Indiana Hoosiers, led by Kurt Signetti. Joined with me now, as always, to get into this and so much more, my co-host, Adam Vonderhaar. Adam, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Ryan. I mean, we try to make a rundown for shows like this,
Serious
we
business.
lost the game. Serious business. We got these bullet points. And it's like, what more could you ask for from this podcast? We're trying to do a rundown. And it's just like, we're catching it from every angle. What more should we be talking about right now?
I, Sherrone Moore, don't know what else we could be talking about today, but we might get to it later on this podcast. Adam, we
Sure.
have to eat our vegetables first, just like Mom would say with the green beans growing up. You got to start with the veggies, and our vegetables came to us on a plate, on a humble platter, as you might call it, in
I would
Lucas
put
Oil
my green
Stadium.
beans, I would kick them off the plate, and I would hope Bones, our Labrador, would eat them. And sometimes he wouldn't even eat them. Leslie would swoop in sometimes and she would eat them, but that's beside the point. Not a green
I
bean
have this
guy.
freakish memory of us eating green beans growing up, and I was also trying to hide them. And we also had chocolate pudding this day. I still remember it as if it is like happening, right now. I can still think of the taste, but somehow, and I don't remember doing this, so it may have been you. Somehow
We have weird green bean memories. Keep going.
the green beans ended up in the chocolate pudding, and I went to take a bite of the chocolate pudding, and I thought to myself, "Oh no, there are green beans in this chocolate pudding," and that's kind of what Saturday was like. It was like, yeah, a
There's a
nice.
chance I hid some green beans in chocolate pudding because I have a similar memory. Folks listening at home, you're not a twin, so you don't understand this, but
You
with
wouldn't get it.
twins, you sometimes you have childhood memories and you think, was it me, POV me, or was it me watching my twin do the thing? And this happens all the time with memories. Was it me or was it Ryan? And I have another memory at shout out Mamaw. I was at her house and I had to try a green bean. You have to try one.
Gotta
But I
try it.
just
Let me see you
yeah,
try it.
but I had just eaten a bunch of Doritos and I ended up getting sick after
Oh,
trying the green bean.
that's a
But
bad one.
anyway, yeah, sometimes you got to try your green beans before you can get to the main
And
course.
our green beans from this last weekend go by the name Fernando Mendoza.
Yep.
Unbelievable. When we build
Mendoza.
exactly, and he was all man there on that first play of that game. This guy was all man. All right, so we get started. Buckeyes lose 13-10. We gave you our score predictions. We felt confident going into it. And we're not going to make excuses. We're not going to sit here and tell you that, yeah, your offensive coordinator took a new job at a different school immediately after you won the biggest emotional win for your team in the last 4 years in a week where the other team had more than a month to prepare just for this game because of the cupcakes they had at the end of their schedule. We don't make excuses. This team should have been prepared. None of that stuff matters. Indiana came out and beat the Buckeyes. They
Offensive
lay,
coordinator takes that job.
yeah,
Yeah, whatever.
no excuses.
All jokes aside, credit to Indiana. They
Kurt
played their
Signetti,
tails off.
this
They
guy,
yeah. Yeah, I mean,
he comes to us from James Madison University. He says, I'm taking the whole team with me. And where are we going? Not Penn State, not Alabama, not Michigan. We're packing our bags. We're going to Bloomington, Indiana, and we're restarting what is historically the school with, what is it, the second most losses in the history of
yeah,
the sport?
folks, their all-time as of late 2025, their all-time record was 525, 719 and 46. So they had lost about 200 more games than they had won in the entire history of Indiana football. Most programs are doing quite a bit better than that for how long they have been around. But this is a historically bad team, bad football program. Great basketball. Bobby Knight. People can go back, they can think to some really good Indiana basketball teams, but it's kind of like Ohio State. The opposite is that football always took second fiddle to basketball. Well, they make an all-time hire in Kurt Signetti, a coach that now, when we see Meat Chicken, we'll get to it later, and Penn State, both, and Michigan State, all these old uh, East Division rivals of Ohio State looking for new head coaching jobs, and how bad they all wish they had pulled trigger and brought Coach Signetti to their programs, because he has Indiana firing on all cylinders in this moment with a historic 13-0 run.
You and I like to bully UC sometimes, even though we do root for them when they don't play Ohio State. But it came out this week that the AD interviewed Signetti for the UC job before they
That's
went
a
with Scott Satterfield. And to me, I mean, what a sliding doors moment for UC. Like, if he's having this success at Indiana, he could have done everything at UC, right? He could have elevated that program and
He'd
been
be
on top
running
of the
the
Big 12.
Cincinnati would be running the Big 12.
Absolutely.
They would be dictating the terms as how good that team would have been. But it's that's why maybe Kurt wasn't a good interviewer. Maybe he talked smack about Skyline Chili in
Could
the
have been.
interviews. Yeah.
Fernando Mendoza comes out first play of the game, gets cracked by Caden Curry coming off the line. Totally legal hit. Indiana fans were a little bit upset online about it, but it's just
Some were,
yeah,
Mendoza said
I think
clean hit.
yeah, Mendoza went on Pat McAfee and said, clean hit, but he said he really cracked me, no pause. That's what he said. Which I actually thought was pretty funny for a guy that's come off very uniquely as a nice way to put it in a lot of
Dad and
interviews.
I mean, not to sideline it, but Dad and I were at the Big Ten championship. It's kind of been a tradition for the family. Has been, if obviously we've had a
We
bit
got
of
to
a
get
drought,
there.
but yeah, when Ohio State makes it, it's actually a shorter distance from our farm, from where we're from here in Preble County, to Indianapolis than it is to Columbus. So it's an easy choice. Go watch the game, Lucas Oil Stadium in December. And that play, Caden Curry cracks him right in front of our seats, basically. And it's like, oh boy, here we go. And this is the research I've done on the Hoosiers. I'm like, oh, Mendoza's down, he's going out. And all of a sudden, wait a second, is that Mendoza?
Yeah, yeah, that
Is
was
that the same?
shocking on TV. We were like, "What? Mendoza? Oh, it's his younger brother?" And so what is it? Mendoza wears 15, but his younger brother wears 16.
Right. The numbers are almost, I mean, it was like, am I losing my mind? He had to come off for at least a play. And anyway, man, if it, that really felt like just a standard setting play by, and Curry played he had a great game. The defense as a whole had a really good game, other than maybe two or three plays by our corners that ended up dictating it. Um, Offensively, frustrating, very, very frustrating game on offense. And I'm sure we'll get into it, but anything you want to talk about first impressions? I mean,
I mean, yeah, couple
if you want to,
headlines. Go ahead.
just the in-game experience, folks, I don't know if it came on the TV program, but from our vantage point, it seemed like maybe 70-30, maybe 65-35 to Hoosier fans in that stadium compared to Ohio State. I don't know if that came through in the broadcast, but when Ohio State came out, the Boo Birds were very loud. That felt like an Indiana home game.
It was majority Indiana, is what you're
Yeah,
saying. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah,
that just to make it clear for what you're
yeah.
saying there, because Ohio State, and this is something that I do think impacted the game plan. Ohio State had to go with a silent count throughout the game on offense. So you could kind of see it, like Indiana knew when we were snapping the ball pretty much the entire game. And just those little things, when you have an elite defensive line and they can really hone in on when that ball's getting snapped, that makes a big difference. It makes it really hard on the offensive line to get out and make their blocks. It makes it really easy for guys to penetrate the line and, tackle running backs in the backfield, which was kind of the story of the day. Really, Indiana had a very similar game plan as Michigan. It was, you're not going to beat us over the top. You're going to have to take some intermediate throws and you're going to have to run the ball. And the difference in this game versus the one in Ann Arbor, we didn't run the ball with nearly the same efficiency as we did, and that's really it. I mean, all that to say, you and I have discussed this a couple times past the game. It's like, re-rack the whole thing. Maybe there's a rematch in the national championship. I think you still feel really good as the Buckeyes going into it because Indiana played nearly a perfect game. Ohio State shot themselves in the foot multiple times on offense, including having the ball at the 5 twice and walking away with 0 points, which I don't think, even with the woes that we've had on offense, I don't think that that's going to happen again. We'll see. Could be wrong on that, obviously. Um, but all of that being said, you're still a Julian Sand not underthrowing a ball to Jeremiah Smith in the first half away from winning the game. If Jeremiah Smith has just led on that one ball deep down the sideline and walks in for a touchdown there,
Right.
it's 14-13. Buckeyes win.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the game's over.
there
Which
in the
is
first half.
crazy how
Yeah.
close that ended up being. And it was just a story of we couldn't finish in the red zone. We had always the bridesmaid, never the bride when it came to touchdowns in that game. Couldn't quite get it done, and it did feel like, don't want to make excuses, did feel like we were kind of keeping the horses in the barn, putting every tight end out there we possibly could when we got close to the end zone. But what do you think?
You and I love the tight ends. Not gonna argue
Absolutely.
about that, right? Not gonna complain
Cade
about tight
Stover,
ends.
greatest player in OSU history.
Absolutely. Almost wore his jersey tonight for the recording. I, as a defense, right? If you're Indiana's defense, every time Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate come off of the field, you take a big exhale because those guys can do things like no other players can do on the field, even on Indiana's team. So for you to have it at the 5 twice and for you to run out, 3 tight end sets multiple times, like, hey, let's get big, let's run the ball. And Indiana, what do? They're not afraid at all.
Mm-mm.
They just match up. They put more linemen and more linebackers out there, and they say, you want to play mean, tough football, so do we. And it really kind of felt like, to be honest, it felt like the Michigan game last year when it's just like, hey, we're going to out tough these guys. We know we can run the ball. Let's do it. Well, you couldn't. And
Yeah.
even saying that, I'm not going to totally kill the run game. Bo Jackson, 13 carries for 83 yards, averaging 4.9, almost 5 yards a carry with a long of 20.
I actually think
The
we
only
just
thing,
didn't run it enough in the red zone.
and I think Bo came off the field too much.
Yeah.
Like that was truly an issue for me. Was
Now, 17 carries, Ryan. What do you think? We got a lot of football to play here. Do you think that played into it, the snap count?
well, is Day thinking, well, we can't burn this guy out? Here in the Big Ten championship, we're going to need him in the playoff run. Like those thoughts start sneaking into your head. Is this the right way to do this or not? At the end of the day, this is a bowl game, is what the conference championship is. I mean, yes, it decided seeding between 1 versus 2, but even when you look at our bracket, like it's almost like
Is it
apples to
is it
apple.
that
Like,
much worse than what
yeah, like
Indiana might be more upset that they have to play Alabama in the second round of the playoff? They have to
we,
play whoever
yeah,
wins between
Oklahoma
Oklahoma and
or
Alabama.
Bama. Yeah, I would
We have to
take.
play either Texas A&M, a team that was completely untested the entire season, or Miami. And I mean, honestly, I think I take our bracket over Alabama and Oklahoma, just player
I,
wise.
I would too. Other than Georgia, that is like the only
Yeah.
thing in the mix to me. I really think there's 3 teams, and it's Ohio State, Indiana, and Georgia. And beyond that, Oregon's kind of sneaking around there. Like they kind of have like that similar position to what we were in last year. And I think they have the guys. I just think Oregon is a step worse than they were last year. So let's see how they,
It's
can play
fairly
in the playoff.
even
Yeah.
between our path
I
and
actually
Indiana's.
think this year's bracket is much more even than last year's bracket. Last year was like, okay, Ohio State has to play all of the best teams. Penn State gets to play, what was it, Boise State, and then
Penn State
whoever
played
they had.
SMU in the first round.
SMU.
Yeah.
That's who I was thinking of. They got both of them, and then they make it to that
Yeah,
last
Penn
game
State had
against
the
Notre
easiest path
Dame.
to the semifinal of any team, and probably in the history of how this will ever be. They got basically handed the semifinals, and they almost won. Drew Aller, it's really amazing what he did to James Franklin's career.
Drew Aller throws an interception in a critical time. I mean, stop me if you've heard this before, but I mean, if he gets him to the natty, maybe Franklin's still there. Like, who knows? Sliding doors moments. To this point, man, what a year of disruption in college football. Another coach goes down today, which we'll get to in a second.
Sayan
Just
opens the game with
yeah,
a bad interception, deep in his own territory. Stop me if you've heard this before. Between the Michigan game and then, of course, last year with Will Howard in the Michigan game, and then Kyle McCord before that. We just have to stop throwing interceptions at the beginning of the game in our own territory. I don't mind it if we're on the plus 50, whatever. It's like a punt.
push it,
But yeah, this was
which we
one
should
where
be doing to
Ennis,
a certain extent anyway. We should be pushing
yeah,
the ball downfield.
Brandon Ennis is the target on it. Probably he could have made a better effort of coming back to the ball because the ball was just a little bit in front of him. But credit to the corner that made the play on it, grabs it, and all of a sudden the momentum completely shifts to Indiana and kind of puts Ohio State on the heels. Do you want to go quarter by quarter, or just overall thoughts, or
I think, folks, if you're listening to this, you obviously watch the game.
I
I,
think red zone
I,
inefficiency is
yeah,
my biggest takeaway. We put one touchdown in, and a lot of people want to say, Jaden Fielding this, and I totally agree. He is not a clutch college football kicker, but I disagreed with kicking that in at all with 2.5 minutes
two things
left.
can be true. Two things can be
Yeah,
true, right? Jaden Fielding should be fired out of a cannon and never wear an Ohio State uniform before. We've been saying that for 2 years. That's
you
not
watch him
like
talking to Hoosiers fans
he's
on the
talking trash
sideline.
on the sideline. We tweeted at it on the SBS account. That is something I will never, ever take from a kicker. You should not be engaging with the fans at any point. You
I
can
don't
talk
care
to
if
them
you
after
are
you win a
having
game-winning
a
kick.
yeah, you could be having a perfect season. You could be having a terrible season. If a fan is talking to you, you don't acknowledge it.
We have
You
been that fan, Adam.
yeah,
You and
you
I are those fans.
I'll tell you what, if I was a college kicker, I know we absolutely have. We love your season tickets at the opposing tunnel. I mean, you guys, folks
Oregon
listening,
21.
you don't want to know the things Ryan was saying to the Oregon players as they then continued to dog
Right
walk a
before they joined
terrible.
our conference.
They
You don't know this
destroyed
Big
us.
Ten speed. That's what I was saying to those Oregon Ducks after they crushed us at
Yeah,
CJ's.
that Oregon team got Kerry Combs fired in a season, but nonetheless, Ryan was hollering, and actually at halftime, those guys were hollering right back at Ryan. It was really something. But if you're a kicker, put some AirPods in if you can't handle the distraction of people. Like, do not engage. You've got a job to do. Go kick that field goal. Anyway,
You know
that
how
was a
they have
huge
that
sideline.
concussion tent, like the medical tent on the sideline? Like, I almost want Day to have a porta john that's
Yeah,
sitting out there, and it's just like, hey, Mr. Kicker, this
yeah,
is your house.
yeah.
This little porta john is your house. We will come over and knock, right, when we need you to come out and make a kick. Other than that, you do nothing. You don't
I
talk
wouldn't
to the.
mind putting, racehorses, they have the horse blinders on. I
That's
wouldn't mind
great.
a set of
That's great.
those
That's
on
great.
Jaden Fielding, something like that with some noise canceling
He
headphones.
might need it. He truly might. I mean, the issue with Fielding, right, is he like a, middle of the road Big Ten kicker, accuracy wise? Yes. I mean, he's made kicks. I'm not saying that
Sure.
that's the issue. The problem with Fielding is at the moment anything is on the line, everything goes out of his head.
He's pulling it. I promise he's pulling it left. If there's any pressure, I don't know if it's mechanics, what happens, but it's going
The
to go
first
left.
kick, the first kick he makes in that game looks like it's a line drive to left field. I mean, it looks like it has no chance, and then last minute it straightens out that goes through. He almost missed the first one against Michigan. I mean, we want to like bury that, and it was another like 24-yarder in that game. So again, Adam and I are on the same page. I'm not going to kill Fielding for losing us the game. It's not his
Yeah,
fault
it's not his fault.
at all.
We're putting way
Like
too much into a
zero
bad
percent,
kicker.
yeah, 0% of the blame really on him. Maybe 1%, I guess, because you have to make the kick. But at the end of the
Do
day,
we go to overtime? Do we end up winning if he does make the kick? Maybe.
here's
Maybe.
my issue with kicking. There's 2.5 minutes left. It's 13-10. Even if you make the kick, Signetti, all he has to do is get, and they have a great kicker. Indiana's
Yeah.
guy is unreal. He can make bombs.
Let me pull up
And
his stats here.
yeah,
Nico
yeah,
Radici.
get that up for us. But the
Yeah.
issue is you're asking the defense not to get a stop. You're asking them to keep them from like the 40,
Right.
on the ensuing drive.
He's hit a 46 this season. He's
He's hit a
94% on
46.
the season.
94%. We'd kill for 94% right now. Actually, let's see what he's doing. Maybe this
Yeah, hold on.
offseason.
Let
I
me see
don't
what
know.
Fielding is on percentage here.
Well, he's
Fielding is
probably
he's 84%. He is 10%
84.
less.
I was going to say, I actually
84%.
thought it might be close because he's made a lot, and bad 84 is so bad. How many of those are we marching him out there for like a 40 plus too? Most of those are pretty easy gimmies. But again, Fielding he's just not an Ohio State. He should not be an Ohio State caliber kicker. Yet Day, after the disaster that was last season, brought him back this year. Again, Ryan Day just doesn't respect special teams enough. And for whatever reason, that's just a hole, in the program right now. And hopefully it gets straightened out. I know that was the story you and I had seen a couple weeks ago. Nate Ebner, right, is back and maybe is our special teams coordinator. Now, Nate is not the guy making the kicks, but Nate is an All-American hero, was a special teams um, elite player when he was at Ohio State, made a long career with the Patriots, truly being a special teams specialist, and was one of the leaders for USA lacrosse as it was
Hoping he
getting off the
brings
ground.
somebody in here
Yeah,
for
we
next
need a
season.
we need a new guy.
Yeah.
That's the issue with it. We need to go get the top kicker in the portal. Okay, again. Okay, 4th and 1. We decide to kick. Mistake, in my opinion, because if you go for it there and you get it, number
Or you
one,
don't get it.
if you get it, you can ice the game
Yeah.
clockwise and still punch in a touchdown, hopefully. If you don't get it, they've got it on the 4, just like they had it, in that game. It's
Kicking it
like,
is
well,
crazy in that situation. The
yeah,
more you talk about that,
yeah. So that was one of those, like, man, is Day really like being a full-time head coach in this moment? Because in my mind, that was, hey, my OC kind of torched us in the first half with his play calling and lack of production that we've had. To me, it looked like Day stepped in the second half because the play calling changed quite a bit, and the creativity that was getting involved. Um, but to me, that was, hey, an OC was making a decision and not a head coach, because in that moment you got to go and get the first down, and then you've got a chance to score. Because at that point, I had resigned as a fan. Like, hey, we're probably losing this game. We've had a
yeah,
lot of trouble,
put a
in
heck
the
of a drive together to end it
absolutely.
with a field goal like that. Absolutely, and
And put the ball in Sayan's hands. You say that this is the game for him to win the Heisman. Why do you take it out of his hands on 4th and 1? If he scores the touchdown there, he wins the Heisman Trophy. I mean, that is the sliding door, moment on kicking it versus going for
I
it there.
still think he
I
should have
also hate,
kept it on that third down call. I think he should
yeah,
have kept it and dove for a first down. That
I
would have been
know.
a Heisman moment.
That would have been sweet. That would have been sweet. Okay. Anything? Props to Indiana,
Frustrating
Mendoza.
game, heck
Yeah.
of a game. To be on the wrong side of it, heck of a game.
And
Indiana came out, got a
Mendoza
lot of.
just kept coming up with answers
He did.
to me.
He, I mean, it's bad when us completely biased Ohio State fans are like, he won it. Like
Give him
straight
the
up,
trophy.
he won the game. He played better. He made less mistakes. We brought pressure the same way they did. We were all over him, and still he found a way to win that game. So I hope to God he wins it over uh,
Diego Pavia.
Diego, yeah, Pavla Pasta Sauce, Pavla out of Vanderbilt. Uh, yeah, not deserving at all. Give it to Mendoza, please.
Okay, we turn the page. And also, I think
Okay,
you and I would agree, an Indiana Ohio State rematch in the national championship would
absolutely.
be electric.
I told a guy today. I know this is an Ohio State podcast. Like I know this, this is heart and central bias of Ohio State. If that's what it is, and if, God forbid, Indiana pulls it out, I would rather them win a national championship than pretty much anybody else on this, like in this playoff. I can't think of
There's no other team
right.
that I would prefer
Everything
win.
else is like nightmare scenario, like A&M, Alabama, Oklahoma.
If Tulane squeezed in, I would pull for
Okay,
Tulane. That would be
all
the
right.
only other one. I
JMU and
love the Green
Tulane,
Wave. I love the Mean Green Wave.
Creole. We love the food down there in New
Yeah, we
Orleans.
love the
Absolutely.
food. Man, just talking about it, ready to get
Mm.
down there. Adam, we've delayed it long enough. And to be honest, the news updates keep coming as we're even recording right now.
Before you say it, just an update on the playoff for those that don't follow it. We are going to wait and see if Miami or Texas A&M win the first round of the playoff,
Thank you,
and
Adam.
then we will talk about that. But more pressing things for now.
To be honest, we might go live after the game. We're going to
Yeah,
watch the games
sure.
next weekend and see kind of what's going on. Yeah, so Ohio State will either play Texas A&M or Miami of Florida, not Ohio, obviously, in the Cotton Bowl on New Year's Eve at 7:30 in prime time, a time that's worked out really well for Ohio State fans. He says, looking away and gulping from the camera.
Mhm.
We've had bad luck on New Year's Eve night, but we feel great about this team. Got a month to prepare. We're in a really good spot cultural wise. Adam, we turn the page. And I'm going to leave it to you. Can you describe kind of the news that's broke tonight?
Well, Ryan, I think it's best if we get in a time machine and we go back about a year to November 30th of 2024. You, me, my mom, our dad, our mom and dad, put it that way. We're in Ohio Stadium. We're in the B deck. We've just watched another 13-10 loss that Ohio State suffers to that team up north, and it was a feeling of complete bewilderment. It was a feeling of how could this ever happen, and maybe Day isn't cut out for the pressure that is involved at Ohio State. It I asked the question. I'm not you and I, like folks
We went
listening,
back. We went
we
back and checked.
we played the tape. Was not calling for his job. Was not saying he has to go. But after that game, we said if he does not show up against Tennessee, maybe he just walks. Maybe he hangs his hat up picks his hat up and takes a different job because at that time, holy cow, the pressure was on. And at that time, had you asked me which coach was more likely to be fired, I'd probably say Ryan Day in that moment. In that moment, who's more likely? Moore, who just took a near 500 Michigan team and beat Ohio State, or Day, who just cannot seem to get over the hump? Well, today, Ryan, Ohio State stands as national champions. Day proves everybody wrong, proves that any doubter possible wrong last season in the greatest playoff run in college football history. Beats Michigan in in the game in Ann Arbor, in the snow, in every single attribute that could possibly be given that Michigan trying to call us soft, that Ohio State can't handle the elements, they can't run it. 12-minute drive to finish that game. Everything flips the other way. And as if that wasn't enough.
Better than a Big Ten championship.
Better than absolutely. If you're making me choose, I take that one every day and twice on Sunday. As if all of that winning wasn't enough. I mean, I don't want to put it like that, but Sherrone Moore fired.
Through completely his
Fired.
own actions.
Do
Through
Yep. Had
completely his
nothing to
own.
do with me, folks. It wasn't a tweet that had nothing to do with Silver Bullet Soccer podcast. This was Sherrone Moore. What he did. Ryan, table set. What did he do?
Shromore, and we're still in the early stages of this, so info can
We're recording the
change.
night that this was
Literally
released.
live,
Yeah.
literally live. We've got the timeline up. We're reading tweets as they come in. Sherrone Moore supposedly fired today after it was found out that he had an inappropriate relationship with a staff member. Okay. I think for now, that's all we'll say about that. Now, if Michigan and if Sherrone Moore found a way to win in the big house last week, I don't think any of us would be hearing anything about any of this right now, because I don't say that for no reason, because this has been circulating online for months, since predating even this season. Information has been coming out about this. So why is right now the time that the
After
Michigan
signing day.
after
Very
signing day,
convenient.
the class is locked in for next year, although now they won't
For
be.
now. Yeah.
All of those Michigan players will be allowed to release their commitment and travel to another team, hopefully a team that has a little bit of integrity. But all of those players will be given the choice to leave. All of this news breaks 2 weeks after they lose to their biggest rival for the first time in 4 years, which to me is makes you scratch your head a little bit. It's like, well, you as an administration were aware of all this. None of this was a secret to you. If me, Joe Schmo Ryan, Silver Bullet Saga Twitter admin on Twitter, knows about all this stuff because it's been openly reported, how is right now the time that this news actually breaks? So very convenient for the Michigan men, the leaders and the best. Hey, that reputation went away a couple years ago now at this point.
Connor Stallions took that one away.
They're just a scummy program that lives and works out of Michigan. Michigan State, they spit on the Michigan program when it comes to an integrity standpoint, and that's saying a lot because they've got their own issues going on, and so do we when we look at HBO specials and whatnot that you want to look at. Okay, um, Anyway, Sherrone Moore out at Michigan. We'll wait to see who the uh, next coach is. I did see there was a leading kind of list. Kalen DeBoer is on that list. Like, is there any chance that he makes his way in? Think there's another guy, Fong or whatever his name is, that's kind of at the top of it. We'll see. Who ends up going to or what happens there. Ward Manuel, who's been the athletic director up at Michigan since 2016. So yes, that's right. The guy who's overseen the Connor Stalions scandal, the Jim Harbaugh show cause ban, the recruiting violations, the COVID canceled season, the game being canceled for the first time in 100 years, and now this. Ward Manuel, the athletic director of Michigan, has a meeting tomorrow with the Michigan Board of Directors. And we'll see it. I actually think this is going to be it. I think he'll be done too. I think they'll probably bring a new AD in who tries to clean house. But all that to say, Adam, you had a quote. I think it was from Bo
Yeah,
Beckler. Yeah.
yeah. So this whole scandal made me think. I mean, surely Jim Harbaugh, who I don't have a ton of respect for, hardly any actually. I think his dad coached at Eton High School. Other than that, not a lot good to say about the guy. He's a weird dude. Does or doesn't like chicken, depends when you ask him. But I go back and I think of Bo Schembechler, some quotes he probably had back in the day about choices we make. And he has a great little parable about choices and decisions. You've got three types of choices in this world. You've got hat choices, haircut choices, or tattoo choices. Hats are easy. You make a choice, take one off, take one, put one back on. Haircuts, not as easy, but they are fixable. And then you got tattoo choices. There's no going back. And this was a tattoo choice by Moore. And just what a great quote by Bo Schembechler. I don't think there's anything more to say about that, but just unbelievable.
You and I
Greatest
were
and best.
recounting before the podcast. I mean, just what an era the 10-year war was, and just how blessed both teams were to have the guys they did. Bo Beckler, Woody Hayes. I mean, just titans of the sport and historic figures in their own right, but not just because of what they did on the field. The leaders that they were and the
Absolutely.
leadership traits, right, that they passed on to so many
Bo comes
people.
back from the cradle of coaches at Miami, obviously, and coaches under Woody at Ohio State, only to go on to make his one mistake, which is to go up to the state up north and take a job there.
Adam, I think we got to call it on this. I mean, we will keep the friends and family of the podcast updated as news becomes available.
Absolutely.
As always, it's a beautiful day to be an Ohio State Buckeye. And I'm so thankful to have Coach Ryan Day as our coach in Columbus. Thank you to the millions and millions of subscribers around this country for joining us for another episode of the Silver
Bullet. Again.
Sherrone, no more.